So the first question is a 90-second question. And Jose, we'll start with you. And the question is, please give us, in no more than 90 seconds, an overview of why you are the best candidate for this seat.
Well, I think I have a very, very interesting background. I'm a Valley native, was born and raised in this valley. I worked 14 years at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory after graduating from University of Pacific and UC Santa Barbara. I worked for the Department of Energy during those 14 years and then worked for NASA for an additional 10 years. During those two stints, I did a 2-year assignment for Department of Energy in Washington, D.C., dealing with nuclear non-proliferation issues and working with the State Department. My last year at NASA, I worked at the Office of Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs, where I worked on developing space policy and worked on developing the budget for NASA. And I preached the gospel of space exploration to our fellow congressional folks in order to obtain support for space exploration. And having said that, I also understand. I grew up here, worked here as a migrant farm worker. My family's still here, and I have raised my family here, and I believe I know what the needs are of our country and of our state and of our district. I mean, I'm very well aware of the cost of education, cost of a gallon of milk, and what it takes to raise a family here in the Valley.
Great. Thank you very much. Chad, the same question to you.
I'm the best. It's broke. Democrats, Republicans, they're more interested in their party than the people. We need someone that's going to be connected to the district, whether the issue is water, economy, ag, taxes, education. We need someone from this district that understands the people and will put that interest above any party affiliation. We know that. Everybody knows that. Every door I walk up to knows the system's broke. The only way we're going to change it is to elect independent people. People that are not beholden to a political party. And you guys know, everybody knows, that the National Republican Party and the National Democratic Party are more interested in their survival, their well-being, not the country's well-being. I'm not going to play that game. We're going to try something different. My campaign's about thinking outside the box, thinking that independence, reflective of your district and with the good of the country, first and foremost. That's what my campaign's about, and that's why I'm the best candidate. These gentlemen are all nice guys and working hard, but they're connected to their party, and we can't have that anymore. You guys know all the problems we have. It's not working. We need a true independent voice for this district, and this is a very important seat. Stanislaus County. This is Stanislaus County's seat. We're going to give it to a party?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Troy.
I'm the best candidate because I live here, because I've been in the area, I've talked to the people, I went to school here, I was a substitute teacher, so I know that our education system is broken. I know that there's things we can do to fix it, and there's a couple things I'd like to do to fix that. I also know I'm the best candidate because I don't have a party. I'm just doing it alone. I'm doing it for the American people, as our founding fathers had intended, to represent the people. Now, I may not have, the best, most extravagant background, but I feel like I can really be the voice of the people and show everybody that, our government is made by us, for us. And, the government is something that we all should be a part of. And I'm kind of going by the quote of JFK, where he says, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And that's what I'm doing. I'm running for Congress. I want to be the voice. I want to go there and represent the people of America, and especially the district that I live in.
Thank you. Congressman, of course, your opinion on why voters should return you to Congress.
I've been fighting for our community for several years now, fighting for Valley interests, lived here, farmed here, have a small business here, go to church here. We have some very serious issues. I've been trying to get the president to come visit the Central Valley, as I've worked with other members of the congressional delegation, so that the president can see. I mean, California is not just LA and San Francisco. The Central Valley has high foreclosure rates. We've got high unemployment. And our high unemployment is tied to agriculture and tied to our water needs. So I'm somebody who's going to continue to fight for the Valley, whether it's on water, jobs, our highways. I'm very involved in the process. and I'm somebody who will fight against my party when they're wrong, and certainly fight against the other party when they're wrong. And I think that's what the Valley needs. Somebody who can get our entire Valley delegation to come together. In fact, our entire California delegation to come together. Because when we can do that, California can do great things within our budget process. The best example of that is the highway bill, where California would receive 23% more money. Actually, would actually keep our money, so we'd have 23% more to spend on our highways and Highway 99 if we can get the California delegation to come together. Where Valley needs, where California needs, we've got to have that bipartisan support. And I find it interesting that you guys have editorialized about my willingness to go across party lines to get things done. But in the last campaign, in a much more conservative seat, that was the thing that they attacked me on, is I'm somebody who's been willing to work with both parties, and I've done that.
Bring a unique set of skills to this and experience. I'm a lawyer. I read and write codes and legislation. I'm a CPA. I read and write budgets. I'm a computer programmer. I read and write data and information. These all fit together. I'm also an experienced activist in local flooding and environmental issues and land development issues in the Manteca area and in San Joaquin County. With my brother and my sisters, I own and operate 3,700 acres of ranch and farmland. I have extensive water rights litigation experience in that area. I bring a set of skills to this task that no one else does.
Okay. Thank you very much. The Medicare system is headed for financial disaster unless changes are made, not for today's seniors, but for those of future decades. What changes would you support for the future? A voucher system as proposed in Paul Ryan's plan, reductions in physician and hospital reimbursements, a higher age eligibility, or others? And please be as specific as possible.
I think the higher age is something we should seriously look at. Simpson Bowles gave us some guidelines that Congress really didn't move on. Reprioritizing our expenditures overseas, I think, would help with a Medicare program that we need to save. We need not voucherize or prioritize or privatize Medicare. It is something that we all should have when we get older, and we pay into it, and we ought to make it strong. It's a political football in D.C. It's not a priority. Social Security and Medicare ought to be priorities at the top of the list on what this government makes work. It makes very few things work, but those things should work because we all hope to grow old. So I would first of all take a look at overseas savings. I would take a look at the age requirement for people maybe younger than me. We increase the age. Something like that. I know Reagan did that.
Mr. Conner. Thank you. Troy.
Social Security and Medicare, I feel, are two government things that are just not working. And so I know that the current rate at which Social Security is going now, it's not going to be around when I'm going to retire. And that's not going to be good. And so it needs to be fixed. And one way to fix that would be to completely overhaul it and look at the tax code surrounding it and how it all works in general. I think it's just become this big bloated monster, and nobody really can understand exactly what it's going to be doing, where it's going to be going, because it's too convoluted on what it was intended to do. Over time, it's just become no longer feasible. And so we have to look at that and then find a new way to make sure retirement is there for all Americans that have worked. And Medicare as well. My mom, she's a nurse practitioner in an ER, and all too often I hear stories about waiting like how long you have to wait and the problems associated with that. And so I think the Medicare situation, the Affordable Care Act tried to address it. I think it's a big problem, and I think one way to solve it would be to look at the way our insurance operates here in America, and I'd like to overhaul that as well.
Okay, thank you. Congressman.
It's a system that's going bankrupt. It's amazing that both parties have agreed that it's going bankrupt. Both houses have agreed it's going bankrupt. The president agrees that it's going bankrupt. Yet there's only one plan that's been put out there in our budget, in the Paul Ryan plan that I've supported and proud of supporting. We address it. If you're 55 or older, there's absolutely zero change to Medicare. But if you're under 55, which I am, I'm going to pay a little bit more. And I would rather pay a little bit more than have no system at all, than have that safety net go away, than have a bankrupt system. And so I've been willing to be out there and be a leader on the issue. We've got to do something. And, I'm hopeful that others will throw out different plans. If they don't agree with this plan, then show us, the Senate's plan. Show us the Democrats' plan. Obamacare takes us the wrong direction. $500 billion cut to Medicare already that is not being reimbursed. And a single-payer system, which my opponent talks about, is something that takes us in the complete opposite direction. Rather than having a 15-member board of bureaucrats that oversee the patient care, that would just take it into the complete different direction of bankrupting Medicare altogether.
So to clarify, you do support the voucher plan?
I support the budget that I've already voted on and the Paul Ryan plan that has been put out there.
Which includes vouchers.
I don't consider it a voucher plan, but yes, I do support the... Yes, I think it's a freedom. People should have a choice. I want a choice on what my Medicare is going to look like, what my health care is going to look like.
Thank you.
On my website is a budget that balances this year and protects Medicare forever. There are question marks on there where I need more information from OMB or CBO or from knowledgeable trade people, but it does solve these problems that you asked about.
Okay. Thank you. Jose.
Sure. First of all, I want to go on the record. I do not support a single voucher, a single payer system. The single payer system that I support is for Medicare. Is the Medicare system that I support. The one thing we need to do is just look at what the Ryan budget is proposing. They're proposing a voucher system that does not keep up with the cost of health care. Over time, what happens is the shift of cost is going to go to the seniors. Because they're tying it to the GDP plus 0.1% or 0.5% or 1%, and that doesn't keep up with the health of the cost of healthcare in the future. So it's just a shifting the burden to the seniors, which I think is wrong. Now I agree, health cost is expensive, and we ought to do things to improve the cost of it and make it more manageable, but not at the cost of cutting benefits to our seniors. And so we ought to look at the root cause. Why is it costing so much? I had my 7-year-old who broke his arm 2 places, had an operation, and 6 months later, I got 12 different types of bills for more than $10,000. And this is having good old NASA insurance. And so what's the problem there? It wasn't that the doctors are getting rich, it's that the managed providers, they have a bureaucratic system that makes it inefficient, and we need to fix that.
Thank you very much. Okay, Troy, we'll start this third question with you. And this is on the topic of Social Security. What changes would you support to provide better footing for Social Security, raising or eliminating the salary cap on what FICA is collected, a means test for Social Security recipients with high income seniors eligible for less, or no Social Security at all? Do you have other thoughts on Social Security? And this is a 90-second question as well.
Well, to look at this question, I think we have to look at why Social Security was created. And Social Security was created as kind of a welfare program to make sure that people have retirement and they have an ability to, that people are taken care of if someone passes away and as a child that they can get Social Security, they can collect on that. And I think it's just this big, overwhelming thing, and we have to take the good things from it and look at the bad parts and then excise that. It's kind of like it could almost be considered almost cancerous in a sense. It keeps growing and growing and growing, and nobody knows how to fix it. And so what we have to do is we have to find the cure for this. And the only way to do that would be to take the good parts and get rid of the bad parts, and then maybe create a new institution where it addresses what Social Security was trying to do in the first place.
Right. Thank you. Congressman.
It's a system that's been overburdened. We've added more people to the Social Security system that have not paid in their fair share, that have not been paid into it over the life of the program or the life of their working adult life. The funding mechanism is upside down. We're going to have to fix that. I know Congress, we're going to be looking at raising the age. I want to take a look at what those proposals look like before I commit on what age or how many years we would extend that. But we also need to take a look at who's paying in and how much they're paying in over the life of their adult employment.
Right. Thank you. Mike.
My budget fully funds Social Security forever, as well as Medicare. It does it partly by raising the lid on wages, like you mentioned. It does it partly by raising taxes, Social Security taxes. It also fully funds Medicare for everyone, which would allow employers to offload their share of medical expenses and allow employers to offload their medical portion of workers' comp, which should be more than a wash in their favor, which should help small businesses. But the bottom line is it is possible to fund it, and it's right there in the budget I gave you.
Thank you. What's that?
Well, Social Security is approaching our 78th year in existence, and let's remember why President Roosevelt created this legislation. It was so that our friends and family members can live in dignity. And people have been paying into the system, and to me it's not fair to change the rules midstream and say, okay, now we're going to do something different with respect to the benefits for Social Security. One of the things that I oppose with the Ryan budget is there's some vague language there that says we ought to reform Social Security without any specifics. I myself would not sign up for that type of agreement until I see what those specifics are. I think we ought to explore ways in terms of getting more money into Social Security. There's a cap after a certain amount of money that a person earns, then they stop putting into Social Security. Maybe that cap ought to be raised so that we can raise additional funds to the system. But we should not put Social Security in the same hands of the people that created this financial meltdown and try to privatize Social Security, because I think we're playing with fire there, and we've already saw the results of the mortgage foreclosure crisis.
Thank you. Chad.
Thanks. Privatize would not be for privatizing Social Security. Listen, those that are hinting at that idea that we ought to get away from Social Security long term, it is a safety net for us as we get older. We need to make it stronger, better, put it at the top of our list instead of the wars and the silly things that we have done. Social Security needs to be our number one priority because we all hope to get old. And you remember that Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan came together and compromised, worked together, so Social Security was better. Now we're at the point again where we need some real leaders in Washington, some independent people that think outside their party's box. We don't have that. So we're in this jam. So I would certainly be open to the age for people under 50 or under my age to increase the age. I think that totally makes sense. But you hear it here. We're not going to get anything in D.C. with the two parties the way they are. But put me in the column. Social Security, top priority. Top, number one priority, because we got to make it there, because we're going to bail out old folks if they get old. We don't have Social Security and we go privatize it. The government's going to bail them out anyway. We're going to take care of our people. That's what we do. So it makes sense to make the program as strong as we can. And you're not going to get it with the two parties the way they are.
Thank you.